is now exiting.
Hold on.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the regular meeting of the DeKalb City Council, May 26, 2020. Prior to our call to order and roll call this evening, I'd like to, as I have in the past couple of meetings, ask those who are fairly close to me, most notably Tracy Smith, our 3rd Ward Alderman, Scott Mcadams from the 5th Ward, and directly in front of me, Greg Perkins from our 4th Ward, to allow me to take off my mask. I find it difficult to talk and to keep my glasses from fogging with the mask on. So thank you very much, gentlemen. I do call this meeting to order, and I'm going to ask Lynn Fazekas, our city clerk, who is meeting with us remotely tonight, to call the roll, please.
Lynn Fazekas is now joining.
Lynn, you're with us?
Yes, I am.
If you'd call the roll, please.
Morris.
Here.
Fennekin.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
Mcadams.
Here.
Berbick.
Here.
Favor. Favor. Is Alderman Favor not there?
Yes, he is not here, Lynn.
Thank you. Mayor Smith.
Yes, here.
7 present.
Thank you. For the benefit of those watching at home and in the audience tonight, Tony Favor and his wife Beth are celebrating their 30th anniversary tonight, and he respectfully asked that he would not be able to ask us to congratulate him and his wife Beth and excuse him from tonight's proceedings. One of our most recognized actors and a veteran himself, Gary Sinise, has been very, very involved with Veterans Affairs and most notably with the public broadcasting Memorial Day celebration on the lawn in Washington, D.C. This year he was unable to be there, obviously, but to memorialize those in our armed forces, I'd like to now introduce virtually Gary Sinise.
We would now like to salute all the men and women from our armed services as the orchestra and chorus perform the Armed Forces Medley. We invite those of you in the audience who have served or who are currently serving to please stand and join in as your song is presented. The United States Coast Guard.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Over the weekend, as many of us celebrated in our own way Memorial Day, I appreciate the efforts of Mike Embry, who is a veteran himself and has been very, very active in Veterans Affairs in our community, as he produced a virtual Memorial Day presentation that a number of websites, including the Park District, our city website, and others posted over the weekend, asking Jeff Kiker, our representative, Phil Young from the Park District, and myself as the mayor of the city of DeKalb to just say a few words about what Memorial Day means to us and to our community. I would invite anyone who has not been down to the Locust Street area. The banners are back up. Our veterans, a number of new banners are there, and I think it just adds a real special touch to the city of DeKalb. So thank you. With that, if you would please join me in standing and saying our Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. For those of you who have an agenda, we're now at item C on the agenda, and that is to approve tonight's agenda. I would ask are any council members if there are any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Mcadams, seconded by Alderman Smith. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Morris,
Yes.
Fennekin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
hello. Mayor Smith,
Yes.
you are suddenly fading in and out. The audio is not very good tonight.
Okay. Is it just my microphone?
I just noticed that during the Armed Forces medley that some things started going wrong with the audio, and so now it would appear that I'm having trouble taking the roll call on this vote.
Okay. We have the motion on the floor and a second that we approve tonight's agenda. Do you want to start that roll call over and see how everything is, Lynn?
Sure, sounds like a good idea. Morris,
Yes.
Fennekin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
I cannot hear Alderman Smith.
Yes.
Okay, Perkins,
Yes.
Mcadams,
Yes.
Berbick,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 ayes.
Other than Alderman Smith, everybody seemed to be fairly clear to you, Lynn?
Yes, but I have to tell you that this is the worst the audio has been since I've been participating remotely. It's not good.
Okay. I am going to let Jeff Bertel, who's working with us tonight, be aware of that. I'm sure Jeff is. And we'll see if it improves during the course of the meeting, Lynn.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, he just gave you a thumbs up.
Yeah, Jeff just gave us a thumbs up, so I think from his perspective, things are fine, but do keep us informed, City Clerk Fazekas, as the evening goes by. So, we are now at public participation. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience or anyone virtually attending virtually to make any comments they'd like. Try to keep those to 3 minutes or less. At this time, believe it or not, I have no letters that have been submitted for reading tonight, which is a big change from the last couple of meetings. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to say any comments at this time? I have no public participation forms. Okay, that's got to be a first. No public participation. So, we'll move along to item E, presentations. We have two very, very special presentations tonight, and I'd like to ask our city manager, Bill Nicholas, to make those presentations, please.
Can everybody hear me? No? Thanks, Jeff.
Mayor Smith?
Yes, Bill, I think, had his mic off, so now he's got it on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's an honor to herald our employees, those who have done remarkable things, and it's even more of an honor to take a few minutes to thank those people who have done great service
Mayor
over a
Smith?
period.
Yes. Yes. Yes, Lynn.
I cannot hear City Manager Nicholas.
Okay, Bill, why don't you get to the podium over there, if you don't mind, and speak right into that microphone. That one seems to have a little bit more oomph to it than that handheld mic. So, Lynn, we're going to address Bill over to the thing. Now, speak right into that,
Let's
Bill.
do this, Mayor, and if
Very good.
necessary, I can write up my remarks afterwards. We're
Okay.
not interrupted again. Tonight, as you know, this is the last council meeting for a couple of our top administrators, Ray Munch and John Gallo. And I'd like to begin with just a few comments about Ray Munch. Ray's sitting over there. He started with us just not quite 3 years ago. He was a young lad of 17. He had a meteoric rise to assistant city manager, moving from management analyst to a number of other roles without titles, and then became assistant city manager under that guy Nicholas. As you can see, he's a middle-aged man now. And he's been a remarkable associate and colleague. Ray has always stepped up when there's been something to do. He gives everything his keen attention, very careful to be accurate in what he represents, because he has always been very dedicated and committed to the city of DeKalb. And so, Ray, if you won't mind coming up here. In behalf of the City Council and the Mayor, the City of DeKalb extends its sincerest appreciation to Ray Munch for over 3 years of dedicated service to the citizens of DeKalb. His last day is June 5th, so this is technically correct, and you'd appreciate that, right?
Yeah.
And I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
And in the time-honored tradition, we have a little going away present. Munch Avenue. I'm sure there's some place in Naperville where this could go. Isn't there?
We have a Raymond
Maybe.
Drive, but we don't
You
have a
do.
lunch.
Well, now you have a Munch Avenue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Special thanks to Bill, first of all. Obviously, he's afforded me many opportunities over the past year. but even more so to the city council. You know, when I came here as an intern, I probably didn't imagine that I was going to end up where I did today, and some things had to happen along the way to make that possible, but you know, I like to believe that hard work and dedication take you where you're meant to go, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to serve this city for 3 years and was a part of exciting projects and good progress, and I'll take that with me and enjoy good memories. So thank you for your support along the way. I truly appreciate it.
Jeff, if you want to cue up the slideshow, please. John, you get a slideshow after 26 years. And now I'd like to honor John Petra Gallo, our interim police chief. John has served 26 years with our police department, and like Ray, a very dedicated and committed employee of the city of DeKalb. I've just got a couple of shots here that I think typify John in his career in the police department. Now, this was John early in his career as a patrol officer, and I was city manager here in the 90s, 94, I believe, John, when John was hired, and as you can see, eager, smiling, clean-cut guy, ready to go and serve. And he's getting younger in this picture. He was a detective in this shot, I believe, John, isn't that correct? And if you talk to any patrol officer, you know that the detectives have, you know, a lot of time to do stuff, dress up in nice coats and things like that. That's not true, folks. It's not true. But anyway, very dedicated, ready to go. Now, here's a curious picture. John just had one mishap. No. This was John after not shaving for one day. He was undercover with a special assignment for a while, and he eventually led that special squad. And he failed miserably as an undercover guy, because this is how he looked. Now, would you buy drugs from this guy? No, he's a cop, right? He's clearly a cop. And this is John as our interim police chief. I'm making a little fun tonight, but what's darn clear is that John never wavered in how serious he took his duty to the city of DeKalb and to the police department, to the men and women who served in the police department here over those 26 years. His family is here tonight, who have helped him strike a work-life balance, probably, I'm embarrassed to say, a little more in the work than the family, but I know both are very important to him, always have been, always will be. A fine man, a friend, and a very loyal public servant. John Petra Gallo, thank you. Please come up. I don't have a mask, but you do. In behalf of the mayor and council, with our sincere appreciation to you, John, for 26 years of dedicated police service to the citizens of DeKalb, June 1st, 1994, and June 2nd. And this is a 26-year sign. Petra Gallo Way. We have two commanders in the audience, and only you guys can know the significance of John's way, but we thank you, and we hope you find a place in your garage for this. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Mayor, Council, City Manager Nicholas, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity of being your interim police chief for last year. I appreciate the support from all of you and believe we have successfully met many challenges during that time. been a very rewarding and fulfilling 26 years. The relationships formed during this time have been the highlight of my career. Many of these relationships include members of city staff, the DeKalb County State's Attorney's Office, DeKalb County Sheriff's Office, Sycamore Police Department, NIU Police Department, our community, and most importantly, the men and women of the DeKalb Police Department. These strong relationships formed over the years have made a difficult job worth doing. So lastly, I'd like to thank my family. Their support of me and of this profession have helped me navigate through a lot of challenges during the years. So thank you. Thank you again, and I'm very proud to have served the citizens of DeKalb. Thank you.
Do we want to get a photo with his family up front? I feel like they came all this way.
Ray's last official act is you're reduced to being a cameraman.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Take one right. Yeah, don't like to take it, you can handle it.
Yeah, there you go.
Jeez, you guys are so camera shy. You gonna put your makeup on today?
Glad my hair.
Good men, Ray Munch and John Petra Gallo. Good men. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Chief, for your service. Okay, item F on the agenda, appointments. There are no mayoral appointments this evening. Item G, consent agenda. All items here are enacted by one motion unless requested by a council member that an item be removed. And I see the hand of Alderman Fennekin. Bill?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to request that items G, 9, and 10 be removed from the consent agenda and moved to the rest of the resolutions. So we can kick off the resolution area with that. I don't have the, I think it's J, I believe. Is that right, Bill?
Mayor Smith?
Yes. Yes, Lynn?
Yes, I know that Alderman Fennekin started to talk about perhaps removing items 9 and 10 for separate consideration. However, I did not hear all of it.
Lynn,
I am thinking at this point that the audio is not sufficient for me to be able to take the meeting minutes with the amount of accuracy that everyone would desire.
I do appreciate that, Lynn. Hold on. I think if we're going to try to find Ruth Scott, see if she's in the building, see if she will relieve you. Before she comes in, perhaps Alderman Fennekin, if you would at least repeat what your motion is on the items.
I will be glad to do that. I'd like to remove from the consent agenda items G, 9, and 10 and place them at the beginning of the section J resolutions.
No, I'm sorry, I did not hear all of the motion.
Okay. Well, Lynn, I appreciate your candor. I appreciate your sincerity in not being able to adequately hear, to adequately transmit that into writing for the minutes. So I'm going to now, if you don't mind, I'm going to turn this over to our Executive Assistant, Ruth Scott, who will conduct the remainder of the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynn, and have a good evening. Okay, Ruth, we are at consent agenda, and Alderman Fennekin has moved that we move items 9 and 10 from the, as consent agenda, and move those as numbers,
1 and 2 under J.
well, I think we'd want to move them until, let's move them towards the end.
Your preference, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, yeah. Let's move those to number 12 and 13 then, under the resolutions, so that we don't have to renumber everything else. Do you see that?
Yes, sir. That's
So-
fine with me.
1 through 11, under resolutions, are, will be taken under consideration as they are printed. If you would then add as item 12, what is number 9 being removed from the consent agenda, and number 13 under resolutions will be moving number 10 from the consent agenda. Bill, does that concur with what you?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay, I'll need a second on that.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Alderman Fennekin, seconded by Alderman Berbick, that we remove 2 items, number 9 and 10 on our consent agenda, and move those to number 12 and 13 under resolutions. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Fennekin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mcadams,
Yes.
Verbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Now, we have still 8 items on the consent agenda, and they are, I will read them, and then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended. Number 1, minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of May 11, 2020. Number 2, minutes of the regular City Council meeting of May 11, 2020. Number 3, accounts payable and payroll through May 26, 2020, in the amount of $1,961,573.62. Number 4, investment and bank balance summary through March 2020. Number 5, year-to-date revenues and expenditures through March 2020. Number 6, Freedom of Information Act, FOIA report, April 2020. Number 7, 2020 Schedule of Meetings Amendment. And number 8, Hospitality Recovery Program Update. I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved by Alderman Morris, seconded by Alderman Smith. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mcadams,
Yes.
Verbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fennekin,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. And thank you, Ruth, for stepping in so quickly. Okay, now we do have a public hearing regarding the Rebuild Illinois Capital Assistance Grant application for a transit operation, maintenance and transfer facility within the DeKalb urbanized area. I will open this public hearing at 6:31, and I would like to ask our city manager, first of all, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this item? If not, City Manager Nicholas, please.
Thank you, Mayor. As the public hearing is open, I just wanted to note that the federal law requires that when the city or any city is looking to draw down monies that have been allocated to it from the Illinois Department of Transportation, in this case, the Transit Administration, for the purpose of the design or construction of transit maintenance operations and transfer facilities, that a public hearing needs to be held. That's what we're doing here tonight. There are 4 other items on the agenda later that deal with transit matters, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have as we get to those. But this one is pretty straightforward. It's just an opportunity for people to know that we are going to proceed and draw down some money and get going on the design. There's some more money that is waiting there. It's about $5 million that is still pending. So we'll be coming back to you with more information as it's available.
Thank you. Thank you, City Manager Nicholas. Realizing that we will be discussing this later on in the agenda, but giving our council members the opportunity to speak during this public hearing, are there any comments at this point? If not, I would like to close this public hearing at 6:33. Moving right along to item I, considerations. Number 1, consideration of new protocols for the city's tax increment financing. That's our TIF program. City Manager Nicholas, please.
Thank you, Mayor. And as you know from reading the background and others who've waded through it, there's a lot of information here. My point as I was drafting this about 2 weeks ago was to just present to you what you had asked me to do, which is simply let's take a look at where we are with our TIF 1 and TIF 3 programs. Are there some new ways of thinking, some new options for how we can come to decisions as a corporate body about how to award grants and loans within that program. And it occurred to me as I was just setting that up for you, which is about 4 pages in, that there are people who don't know much about TIF. I have people call me out every week saying, you got any of that TIF money? It's not like walking around money. There are certain parameters that are set by state law in Illinois, and we try to abide by those. And even while abiding by them, it often comes down to what's in the TIF fund and how do you feel it should be made eligible. So I'm not going to belabor the background. It's familiar to members of the council, and if there are any questions later on, I'm happy to speak to them. But in your background, if you go to flash forward to page 6, which gets you to the chart of charts, basically. This is upgraded from just 2 months ago because in the last couple of months, the council has taken action to award some TIF assistance to the Bae family, and also for a new group looking to remodel, rehab the former O'Leary's restaurant. So those 2 projects were significant and made a dent in the TIF 3 budget as approved by the council in November of last year. So I wanted to give you an accounting of where we are and about what we have left for other TIF projects out of the TIF 3 account. Now, I should hasten to add, the council can, if it wishes, still port from TIF 1 to TIF 3. But in doing so, the council's always looked to make a major impact in doing that, not just to cover some costs and or to balance the budget. So what I have proposed are some protocols going forward. I know we've had some good dialogue in the last couple of months over these projects I referenced about, well, maybe we ought to set a limit of a percent, for instance, on how much a project should be awarded, a percent of the eligible, the TIF eligible tasks associated with that project. And there's also been discussion about whether there should be money given to anything that isn't really going to make a significant contribution in terms of new EAV. So I've tried to take both of those concerns into account. And on page 7 of your background tonight, you'll see what I've proposed. And there are 3 principles, I guess you would say, that I'm proposing that are pretty much in the mainstream of TIF administration in this state and in this country. And one of those is the potential project that the council may be considering, which will have an impact on EAV growth. What is the nature of that impact? How significant and profound is it? And then another is just simply it's the dollars. What is the capacity of the program that is going to be incenting a project? As you know, and we've talked about this many times, TIF 1 is going to be going away after 2021. There will be some incremental money that will still be accrued into 2022, but the TIF district will be basically out of action at that point. And so there are some projects, as noted at the top of page 7, that have to be attended to based on previous council direction. So what about the capacity of TIF 3? That is our new TIF. That is like the little shadow that is now covered and is accruing increment over about 1/10 of the size of TIF 1. So it's a much reduced program. That was by council design. It's focused on the downtown and a little more, east and west of the core of the downtown. If you want to look at the core as 1st to 4th, then it's a little bit east of there, a little bit west of there, a little bit north, and a little bit south by a couple blocks. And then what's the eligibility? The TIF Act is very specific as to the general categories of things that can be funded by TIF dollars. If you're, for instance, and we've done a couple restaurant projects here this year, TIF money should not be used for napkins and plates and tabletops and things like that. It's supposed to be for things that don't move, electrical and plumbing and structural work and that type of thing. And it's rehab work. It's not supposed to be for new, although there's a certain amount of work, utility work and otherwise, that could go into a new project, provided that you're basically refitting, refurbishing underground utilities and surface utilities. So those are 3 principles. I think they're not very controversial. I think they're consistent with what the council has been looking at, and I threw those out for your review. I think it's important to note, as I said in the background, that TIF, not only is TIF 1 going to be terminated soon, but if TIF 3 is the only TIF area in which projects have a life beyond 1 year, and what project have you seen that actually amortizes its value in 1 year? Usually it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. 20 years has been your norm. Then TIF 3 should be the focus for all future redevelopment projects. If it's not in TIF 3, there's no point in doing it. Right now, there are a couple things that were talked about 3-4 years ago that are in TIF 1, will not be in TIF 3, and will not be generators of new incremental value after the next year in TIF 1 alone. Okay. I'll stop there for a minute. Any questions? More in detail, what I've proposed is that if our budget is approximately $500,000 in TIF 3 in the next couple of years, because TIF 3 is just beginning to accrue some incremental value, then you're going to be limited probably to 3 to 5 projects in that $100,000 range before you exhaust the budget. So my suggestion to you is that we basically look every January and February. The budget's done. And before the budget's done, you have sort of a preliminary idea from the city manager about what what your TIF dollars are to work with. And we have basically an enrollment period. We understand that not every good idea is hatched in January and February, and you can leave a certain cushion in your annual budget for that. But you have some capstone projects for the year, which may have been talked about at the staff level or with you individually. We present those to you in January and February with maybe one in the hole, so to speak. And we do that for the next couple of years because the incremental value is not going to increase much more than, $25,000, $50,000 a year for a few years. I think that just makes sense from a budget standpoint. And it also sets people up, gets them ready to prepare a plan, and if their plan is not ready, then they can wait till the next year. Or if it seems like an urgent thing, too good to be true, and we have the ability to do another project, then great. That would be your option and your opportunity. And finally, there are projects that we have done in several budgets now I've been part of, that are part of the AIP program, the Architectural Improvement Program. That was divined, it's gone through several iterations. If you go back to the 1980s, there was an idea that it would mostly be a facade improvement program. Get the old awnings down and create some ADA front entrances so people can get in and out reasonably, do things like that, and limit $5,000, $10,000 a place and do 5 or 6 or 7 of those a year. There's still that element to it, but it's been used for other things, and the council gets a chance to vote on those every year. This year we haven't had a new application, but we had 2 that were carried over from last year. So I propose that maybe we increase that a little bit. There are some projects that arguably don't advance the EAV, but advance the walkability of the downtown, the attractiveness of the downtown, and you've done some of those. You replaced the awning at Lincoln Inn last year, and that seemed to make some sense. And you helped with the front door at Children's Sporting Goods, and you did some other things like that. It helped. It just helped with the feel of the downtown. So that there'd be some money there for that. And I plug that in just as an example in the budgets that you see before you. So that's it. It's not fancy, it's not exciting, but it gives us some parameters. And since we're already this year, frankly, to that point where we might have room for one more decent project, then that it might help us have some discipline within the context of a budget. A rough budget laid out for you. I'll stop.
Bill, credit to you for coming up with some thoughts and some findings as a result of discussions that I've heard this council and councils in prior years talk about. And so I take it that what you're looking for tonight is a general consensus that what you've come back with, based on what you've heard from this council and other councils as it relates to the utilization of TIF, especially the dollars that remain in 3, makes sense. And so with that, I will turn it over to any other alderman who would like to make any comments or questions. Alderman Morris.
Alderman Fennekin, can I take my mask off? So I like these 3 items. I think they're good, but the only concern that I have is that EAV may not fully capture all of the possible return on investments that we might experience. And in that sense, I wonder if it might underestimate the value of projects. And so I wonder if, I understand that to some degree EAV is going to capture that return on investment, but to some degree it's not. And so I wonder if we add in another category to consider that?
It's a good question, and, you know, we've considered throwing in sales tax if it's a commercial unit or it's a mixed, and I think the sales tax did count in the BIE project calculation. The only trouble with that is the sales tax doesn't go back into the TIF. So I just limited it to the incremental increase in the property tax base, because that's the property tax that is the focus of our TIF program now. There is an anomaly having to do with sales tax, which we learned about a couple of years ago, and I'm not going to go down. It's such a convoluted discussion. But for all intents and purposes, the property tax is our focus. It's how we calculate. The nice thing about it is it's durable. It's not very often that property loses significant valuation in terms of the annual assessed value. It is possible, as we know, unfortunately, that businesses can go out and there's no sales tax at all, but property tax, somebody's paying it, you know, or eventually gets paid. So I hear what you're saying. Is there a third thing you had in mind, or just those two are the focus? Yeah. And there's another thing which, boy, it's the intangible. It's like if you go to a bank for a loan, they want to know about your collateral and your credit. But it used to be, I don't think it's so much anymore, the character used to be one of the 3 C's. I don't know if that is anymore, but it used to be, you know, this person's been here forever, the family's been here for a long time. That sort of worked into some of the conversation earlier this year with the Bio project, that people have been here, a family been here, making a contribution for generations. So that's up to you, though, whether you want to add that. It's such an intangible, you don't know what to put on it, you know.
Alderman Fennekin.
Yeah, Alderman Morris, I certainly understand the rate of return, but maybe, Bill, as we go along, maybe as one other piece of information, we could do projected increase in sales tax from a property because of something we're doing, if it's going to be a commercial thing. That may help in, as we're reviewing a project, help decide. I think really came to light in the conversion of the O'Leary's project. I think that was one of the deciding factors that helped us decide to move along with that. And I think that it's not going to be one of the top 3 as you've listed here, but it's certainly, I think, going to be an important piece of information on projects of that type going down the road. And I think that it probably wouldn't hurt to be included in the protocols where it's appropriate.
And I agree with you. You know I agree because I've been including it.
Yeah.
I just, for the sake of discussion tonight, I didn't include it as part of the property tax calculation over here.
Thank you.
Yep.
Alderman Berbick.
Thank you. We've been talking about these things over many, many months now, and this really, I think, brings it together cohesively, reflecting some of the comments from council in the past. What I'm interested with regard to TIF is the eligibility of workplace training and educational programs. We are doing our best to attract business and industry to the city of DeKalb, and I think especially during this pandemic where many people may be faced with a career change or who knows in this day, but would that be, again, we talk about ROI, very difficult to measure ROI from a workplace training kind of scenario. We can certainly come up with data and measures that show that this program was successful, and then could that type of program be carried forward even beyond TIF if it truly is a benefit to attracting business and industry in DeKalb, establishing a solid workforce. So again, we've had money budgeted in for that kind of training, but I think, again, in the home stretch of TIF 1, should that be a consideration? Is that a great investment for the taxing bodies for the city of DeKalb, county of DeKalb?
It's a good question. I think there's a parallel system and structure out there right now, as you know. Like, for instance, when we were in the process of attracting the two large companies that we attracted last fall and this spring. The DeKalb County Economic Development Corporation, Kishwaukee College, to a certain extent NIU, but also then the workforce development programs of the state of Illinois. All that was marshaled and compiled and shown how a project of a certain kind could generate the need for so many jobs and certain levels of training, and then where would you get that training? So all those questions were asked and answered in those, and the packets that we gave people were, pretty thick, 30, 40 pages. Data from other companies that have located here in the last 15, 20 years, going back to Panduit and Target and 3M and so forth, to see how, what their initial needs were. They expanded. Here's how their expansion needs were. So there is almost like a side industry here to feed into the workforce piece of it. The problem with TIF funding that, TIF does fund, in our experience recently, has funded soft costs, architectural engineering, surveying. But when you get past that, then it's harder to tie it right to the property tax piece, which is what, and we just went through a TIF audit. We haven't seen the result of it yet, but that was very much, and they wanted to see what are the hard numbers, what's the hard connection here. It wasn't so much this other. So I think the short answer is that others are investing mightily in that to our advantage. And we just have to make sure we know how to tap it and that it's updated for our purposes, if that makes sense.
But do you believe that this could benefit that effort overall?
It does indirectly, because to the extent that we're able to create jobs and a variety of jobs, then that creates more demand and examples that others want to follow. And so that's very good from an economic attraction perspective.
Thank you.
Keeping in mind that as we get projected or TIF projects proposed to us, that we will be discussing not only some of the things that Carolyn and Bill and Mike that you brought up, and we could incorporate those in that individual consideration. So keeping that in mind, is there general consensus tonight that what Bill has given us gives us a more clear framework on TIF going forward?
Yes.
Okay, I see everyone's
Thank you.
hands shaking
Thank you.
affirmatively, Bill, so.
It's a work in progress. We work on this.
Yeah, Alderman Perkins.
Yes.
Great work,
Great.
Bill. The one thing I really like about it, though, is attempting to annualize it. Might that be a way of marketing it, to say, you know what, here we are for the 2021 year, or, I like that element of
Yeah.
it.
Thank you.
It buckets things. It kind of provides some goalposts to say, all right, here we are,
It's something that's been missing, and I'm glad to hear you say that. I'm hopeful that will give us, like you say, put some walls around it, so we're not going.
Thank you. Thank you, City Manager Nicholas. Thank you
Thank you.
for council for listening and to provide your input on that. Let's move along now to item J on the agenda, resolutions. Number 1, Resolution 2020-041, authorizing the submittal of a Rebuild Illinois grant application for a public transportation capital assistance grant under the Illinois Department of Transportation's general authority to make such grants. I'd entertain a motion.
So
please.
moved. Second?
It's been moved by Alderman Fennekin, seconded by Alderman Mcadams. City Manager Nicholas, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I hinted at this under the public hearing portion. This is that $5 million.
Right.
With your approval of this resolution, then we can proceed to submit that capital grant application to Idot in the amount of $5 million. So we ask for your approval.
Any further discussion? Any questions? If not, roll call, please.
Oh. What do you need? Oh, Mike. Just looking at
Perkins,
Yes.
Mcadams,
Yes.
Berbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fennekin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. That resolution is approved. Number 2, Resolution 2020-042, authorizing the issuance of a request for proposals for an ADA complementary paratransit and deviated flex route transit service provider. I'd entertain a motion, please.
So move. Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Perkins, seconded by Alderman Berbick. And prior to City Manager Nicholas speaking to this items, I will advise that Alderman Smith from the 3rd Ward, who is employed with Voluntary Action Center, has recused himself from this resolution consideration. So having said that, City Manager Nicholas, please.
Thank you, Mayor. As the background suggests, we're at the end, we had a 3-year contract. We're in the 3rd of 3 years for the paratransit and deviated route system, which we've had with VAC. We're going out for an RFP that's required now at the end of this contract. We have, as you know, a consultant. His name is Bob Bourne, who's been helping us with preparing the RFP. And he suggested, among other things, 3 changes to the system we have now. And they're itemized on page 9. And I wanted to get, in particular, your guidance on each of these 3, because this is the meat of what the future of paratransit may be. One is that whoever proposes a response to our request for proposals is going to not be required to provide the local match. That's been, in the past, that's been the case. What often happens there is that they know they have to come up with a local match. They add more to their price, and we've taken that out. We'll probably get a truer, leaner price as a result of that. And now we get to a second piece, which arguably what we should have done in this background is to have defined how the federal government looks at general public. The common parlance, we feel we're all general public. I mean, that would include everybody, right? Well, according to the federal definitions, it does not include those persons who are in need of the paratransit, those persons with disabilities, for instance, and others who are often transported on appointment by our paratransit services through VAC, taken to hospitals, taken to VAs, and so forth. Those people ride free, and will continue to ride free under the way we've shaped up the RFP. The general public are the people who just call and use, and this is possible, it happens on a regular basis, use paratransit as their Uber or Lyft or taxi cab. Hey, I got to get from here to there, able-bodied, car broke down, can you come pick me up? To their credit, the paratransit provider's always been there for them. But those people are paying $1 right now. The actual cost of that ride is $50. So the proposal was to increase it to $5. So this doesn't come out of the pocket of the person who is disabled and in need, maybe chair-bound or whatever, needs that unique kind of vehicle to get to where they want to go. And then the other piece that certainly deserves conversation is what we charge and how we serve the areas that are beyond our corporate limits, and then our service area, our urban service area, which we're obligated under the various federal contracts we have to serve. I'm not going to paint this exactly by street, but our urban service area, our urbanized area, includes the city of DeKalb, includes all of Cortland, and includes 95% of Sycamore, goes all the way up to a little bit north of Peace Road and 23 and Plank Road and Sycamore. So it goes a long way north and east and west of that. So this is a large area, and the proposal here is to follow the federal guidelines, which is to serve those areas as we have been serving, to have the county under a separate agreement with the paratransit provider to serve those areas further afield into the rural and non-urbanized area. That's what's proposed. And Marcus Cox, who's our transit director, asked that we identify those three specifically, so you had a chance to talk about it tonight. That's part of the system that we would be asking proposals on. So if you're disinclined to support any of those three, then now would be the time for us to change the RFP before we go out.
Are there any questions or comments regarding this proposal? Alderman Morris.
So I just want to verify that I understand correctly, and you're saying that as far as number 2 goes, general public is not, general public is considered to be those who are able-bodied, but are utilizing door-to-door services that they're calling for.
Correct. And Marcus Cox is in the audience. Marcus, do you want to address that a little bit?
Thank you. Yes, so in this case, the general public definition, and I apologize I didn't put it in there, general public is anyone who's able to get to a bus stop or ride a bus on their own. Non-general public would be individuals with disabilities, senior citizens of sorts. Those are who this service is set up for, and the ADA is really attempting to try to make sure that they get that opportunity to use public transit to their abilities. But general public in this sense, yes, someone who can get to a bus stop and ride a bus on their own with no issues.
And so any senior would be, what's the age of a senior then?
In this case, would be 65.
Okay. And so that applies to able-bodied, well seniors. So this does not, the definition of general public does not include those able-bodied 65 and older.
Technically, in order for them to be considered eligible for the paratransit service, they would have to submit an application to be able to use it going forward. So if they were 65 and they called and said, you know, I would like a ride, as long as they have an application, they've submitted it, and it shows that they're 65, even if they are technically able-bodied, they're still able to use it for the senior citizen purpose of being 65 or older.
And so they would not be charged this $5 fee?
Correct. They would only be charged the $1 fee. Correct.
Any further comments? We have a motion on the floor and a second. Roll call, please.
Mcadams,
Yes.
Berbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
6 yes.
Thank you. Moving
Thank
right
you,
along
Marcus.
now to item 3. My green light is on. Yes. Jeff, there we go. Okay. Yeah, sometimes I can hear myself and if I don't, I look down and if that little green light is off, that means my mic is off. But for some reason, my green light was on and my voice wasn't getting out. So thank you, Mike. So, let's move along now to number 3, Resolution 2020-043, authorizing an amendment to the Transit Service Provider Agreement with Transdev Services Incorporated. I'd entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Who made that motion? Alderman Verbeek, seconded by Alderman Fanouken. And I take it that also in this particular instance, Alderman Smith has recused himself from this vote and this consideration. So with that, City Manager Nicholas, please.
This item and the next item are cleanup items.
Right.
The initial agreement did not anticipate some of the operational adjustments that have been made to TransDev, such as some of the route changes we did in the last 2-3 months. Also, happily, I can say the CARES Act did provide us with a considerable chunk of money for our transit program, and that's also included in this. We recommend your approval.
Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Thank you. It's okay. Verbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mcadams,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes,
6 yes.
that resolution passes. City Manager Nicholas and Executive Assistant Scott, you are doing a great job tag teaming that microphone. Love it. Okay, number 4, Resolution 2020-044, authorizing an amendment to the Transit Service Provider Agreement with the Voluntary Action Center of DeKalb County. I'd entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Morris, seconded by Alderman Verbick. City Manager Nicholas.
Similarly, as I mentioned, this is another update, cleanup on the agreement with VAC.
So it's pretty much a cleanup. You have no other further comments, okay? Any further comments or questions from the council? If not, roll call, please.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mcadams,
Yes.
Verbick,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes,
6 yes.
that resolution passes. Thank you. Number 5, Resolution 2020-045. I think Alderman Smith can probably vote on this. Where is he?
He could. He's in the back.
Okay. Life wouldn't be the same without you, Tracy, you know. Okay, very good. Number 5, Resolution 2020-045, concurring with the State of Illinois Department of Transportation in the award of a bid to William Charles Construction Company, LLC, doing business as William Charles Electric, in the amount of $595,000 for construction services to relocate and replace the existing NavAid units on runway ends 2, 20, and 27. That's DKB 4556. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Mcadams, seconded by Alderman Fanouken. City Manager Nicholas?
At the last meeting, you voted some money to help our consulting firm provide project management for this work. Now, this is the actual work. The bidding was done by Idot, Department of Transportation, and the bid went to William Charles. This is concurring in that bid award. So we recommend approval.
Thank you. Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mcadams,
Yes.
Verbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. That resolution is approved. Number 6, Resolution 2020-046, authorizing the waiver of bids and the award of a contract to Current Contracting Company in the amount of $875,625 for street resurfacing on 7th Street, Maycomb Drive, and Normal Road, including various other minor segments, with staff authority to approve change orders up to a combined project total of $875,625. motion?
So move. Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderman Perkins. City Manager Nicholas.
Thank you, Mayor. We came back after the good council discussion on April 27th, after Zach Gill, our city engineer, had spent a fair amount of time redesigning the package, going to Concurring, getting a renegotiated price for the smaller project. We wanted to keep it under $1 million. We kept it under $900,000, better yet. And still we'll be able to complete, we feel, the heart of that smaller project list, which is a total of 3.7 lane miles, which is a good distance, covering 7th Street, Macomb Drive, Normal Road, and some other alley improvements and some minor street patching here and there. A couple spots that have been identified for years and just are in sore need of a quick fix. So it's an asphalt program here. We do some concrete work every year, and we had an inquiry, how come this doesn't include some handicap street corners and things like that? Well, that's not part of the asphalt bid, which is what this is. So we recommend this, and we'd like to get started. Excuse me, the company is on board with us as far as timing, and we'd like to get all this done by the time, hopefully, there are school buses on the road this August.
Any comments or questions? The reason I paused there was because I looked at those numbers and they were both the same. Basically what this is, it's a base contract of $833,925.
That's correct.
And with the additionals, the total contract then could be $875,625. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
I saw
thank-
that today when I was looking.
Yeah, well, I saw it as I was reading it, and I
Yeah,
said,
right.
something doesn't
Yeah.
sit well with my brain on that, my left and my right. But anyway,
Typo.
I'm glad we were able to clarify that. Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mcadams,
Yes.
Verbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Yes.
Fennekin, Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
That resolution passes. Thank you. Number 7, Resolution 2020-047, authorizing a master equity lease agreement with Enterprise FM Fleet Management Trust. I'd entertain a motion, please.
So moved. Second?
Been moved by Alderman Verbick, seconded by Alderman Smith. City Manager Nicholas?
Thank you, Mayor. There's some considerable background here that I know you've had a chance to wade through, and this is a topic that's been brought to you at 2 different committee of the whole meetings, one in January when we posed the idea, you liked the idea, we brought it back on May 11th when, in the context of what we hope to do to battle some of our challenges with, fiscal challenges with COVID-19. So what it boils down to is what we propose to you is a list of 13 vehicles. There is, I handed out a much more readable copy probably than what you could see online that identifies the vehicles, and these are the same ones that were highlighted back on May 11th. It's important to note that if you embrace this program as we had detailed it a couple weeks ago, that we don't begin paying for a vehicle until the month after we take delivery, and many of these vehicles are, by the time they're ordered and so forth, are not going to be received till late in the year, maybe even the beginning of next year. So the impact immediately is not going to be felt, but obviously with a lease program, you have to have a longer view because you're going to be accruing obligation that is going to continue to show up on your balance sheet for that fund. So we are aware of that. We did look at some other fleet leasing services in this process. I want to thank Ray Munt for leading this for our administration over a number of months. And we're talking about working with Enterprise, which has been very, very cooperative and helpful in helping us think this through. So the total not to exceed cost over the 5-year term is $665,000 for these 13 vehicles, which are large, small, and in between. And that includes a little cushion, about 2.5% for minor changes that may come up as in the process we're outfitting these vehicles. Sometimes things do come up. So that's what's before you tonight, and Ray or I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Alderman Fennekin.
Not really a question, and I mentioned it before. I think Ray and I and the city manager, Nicholas, are in agreement that over the long term, leasing is more expensive to the city. But with the cash crunch that we're undergoing, this is probably the only efficient way that we can get some new vehicles into the fleet, and they are badly needed. There's no doubt about that. Thank you.
Alderman Smith.
Bill, I know there's a shortage of vehicles. Will that have an impact on this or delay the process? I know I just tried to buy 2 new cars, so what, that we're not spinning up to production, is that going to put us farther down? Any thoughts? I know these vehicles are needed.
The net impact of this is we make an advance, a significant advance. And there are some, it depends which department, which type of vehicle you're looking at, but by the end of the year, we'll have made a significant advance on that backlog that we've been talking about here for about a year now.
So we'll get a 2021 for the 2020 since the 20s aren't available? I'm just joking with that, or I'm just kind of curious. So,
Well,
I'm trying.
yeah. Well, you might want to join our negotiations.
Thank you.
Next time around. Thank you.
That's it, Mayor.
Any further questions? Well, thank you for the comments and the questions. This was relatively heavy reading for some of us non-mathematicians, but I'm glad that we seem to have concurrence with this, so let's have the vote. Roll call, please.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mcadams,
Yes.
Verbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. That resolution passes. Number 8, Resolution 2020-048, authorizing the purchase of a 1 dump truck through Rush Truck Center based on the state bid contract price in an amount not to exceed $148,054, $148,054. Motion, please.
So moved?
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Mcadams, seconded by Alderman Morris. City Manager Nicholas.
Okay. Well, let me tell you about this truck. When you read this, I'm sure you got to this point, you thought, Nicholas has totally lost it. We just talked about leasing, and, and now we want to buy a truck outright. Well, there are 2 things we're trying to do here with this. One is that this truck wouldn't be bought under that leasing program we just approved and I described. There are leasing companies that do big truck leases, and my recommendation, as you saw, was that that's exactly what we do. What we have to do, though, if there's a price on this that expires the end of this month, which is just days away, and we've been finding our way here in the last couple months to see how we want to proceed into the future, and so time has been moving along on that expiration date, and now we're right on the cusp of it. It's a very good price. We'd like to secure it. It's going to take a while. This will probably be the end of the year, if that, before we actually would receive this and it would fall onto our balance sheet. What we'd like to do in the meantime is talk to, we'll start with the Rush Truck Center because they have a leasing program, but we won't stop there. We'll look at others and see what we can get, some competitive pricing, and then we'll find a way to bring back to you a lease program for this truck. This truck replaces a 1999 truck. Now, let me tell you about this truck. I got the lowdown from Andy today. The cab is rusted off of the chassis, so it's parked. The last time it was used, it was in cold weather, I think, and a guy made a pretty sharp turn, and the cab started to fall off of it. So it was a little scary. We parked it. That's where it's going to sit until whatever we do with it. It's probably junk. is. But we run the big trucks into the ground, but we need those big trucks, particularly in the heavier snows. It's not just that they have a wider plow on them, but we need the oomph to plow through when you're doing wet snow that's 6-8 inches. You can't do it with a pickup truck, and you can't do it with a small dump. This is efficient. This is how we clean the streets, and we use it in the wintertime. We use a truck like this all year round, though, because whenever you have a water main break, this is the one you load up, so you don't have to make multiple trips back and forth. It speeds the completion of the repair and so forth. And same if you're doing catch basin work or whatever else you're doing. It's the size that most municipal governments identify for those purposes. We recommend your approval. We just have a few days to proceed on this, but with your support, we'd like to do that.
Are there any questions of City Manager Nicholas on this proposed purchase? And I just can't believe that anybody would say that Bill Nicholas would completely lose it. You know what I mean?
It's been said.
Roll call, please.
Oh,
Mcadams,
Yes.
Berbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Yes.
Fanouken, Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Let's move right along. Another resolution, number 9, Resolution 2020-049, amending a restaurant bar liquor license to a restaurant full liquor license for Pete's Place Incorporated, doing business as Glidden Hill Grill, 930 Pappas Drive, DeKalb. Entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved by Alderman Morris, seconded by Alderman Mcadams. City Manager Nicholas.
this is just a change in mind. This is, with what he does, it's always a tinker's choice, which way you go, which license. You did your job, you awarded the license a couple weeks ago, and then he decided, you know, it's just not going to work, and then his associates, so this isn't going to work. So he came back, fine, same price, I believe, and we support it. We're not going to come back again. I mean, you can't go back. This is what you do.
Any further questions? This is the old Rosati's property, so roll call, please.
Verbic,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
That resolution passes. Number 10, Resolution 2020-050, approving a bar liquor license for CJ's Gaming, LLC, doing business as CJ's Gaming, 1406-B Sycamore Road, with supplemental licensure for video gaming. I'd entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Fanouken, seconded by Alderman Morris. City Manager Nicholas, please.
Just to say that, as in the previous one, the application was reviewed by our police chief and liquor commissioner and staff, and it seems to be in order. Recommend its approval.
It's a new owner, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Great. Any further questions? Roll call.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. That resolution passes. Number 11, Resolution 2020-051, authorizing a side letter to the collective bargaining agreement with the International Association of Firefighters, IAFF, Local 1236, regarding promotional examination to the rank of Battalion Chief. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderman Verbick. Roll call, please. Excuse me, City Manager Nicholas.
Just as it says in the background, we do periodically, whenever there are openings, we do with the Board of Fire and Police, we do testing for promotions to the rank of battalion chief and captain. It says in our collective bargaining agreement with firefighters that to be promoted to battalion chief from the rank of captain, you shall have been a captain for at least 2 years. We have a candidate who's not made it quite to 2 years, and there are no other candidates there. The chief feels pretty strongly that we need a replacement for the battalion chief position. But this isn't a matter of changing the way Fire and Police does this. It's the way our collective bargaining agreement does it. We have agreement from the firefighters to sign a side letter if you are so inclined, and we support it. It makes some sense. It's also going to save us some money, because if we do them right now, we can do both of these together and save about $4,300.
Thank you. Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Berbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Okay, we do have two other resolutions. If you recall, we moved items 9 and 10 respectively from the consent agenda to numbers 12 and 13 at this point on the agenda. So number 12 should read thusly: Resolution 2020-039, approving the regulation of traffic for the purpose of holding the annual DeKalb Corn Festival on Illinois Route 38 between First Street and 4th Street, beginning Thursday, August 27, 2020, at 4 p.m. through Sunday, August 30th, 2020, at 10 p.m. I'd entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Verbeek, seconded by Alderman Fanouken. City Manager, would you like to speak to this item?
Yeah, just real quickly, I talked to Lisa Angel today, and I think everybody knows Lisa. She works with a great team of volunteers every year to pull this together, and they work all year round on it. But she's provided some essential leadership for a long, long time, and has been a good face and spokesperson for Cornfest. So I asked her, how do you size things up? Where are we going to be? And she told me the obvious. Well, we don't know for sure, but these two items on the agenda tonight do set us up. We can't delay these. This is, you get Idot's permission to close the street, and to get the permission to have a liquor license. That then helps them to go out and attract vendors and so forth. But the key decision point, according to Lisa, is about no later than the middle of July. And if the guidance from the governor's office is otherwise, or if we feel that it's not indicated at that point, then there won't be a Corn Fest. There's not really an easy plan B. They are looking, they're diligently looking at, well, what if you had, say, 25-50% of the number of vendors? Can you space things out and so forth? But just very hard to control that with the level of volunteer. They have a lot of volunteers, but you need a lot more volunteers. And we need probably arguably more police officers just to keep people safe. So I don't know how viable that is as an alternative, but they are looking at other things. That's what I know today, and so you authorized me to say what I've just said.
So we will have a separate vote on this since it was moved off the consent. Alderman Fanouken.
Yeah, and really that explanation I thought was critical that the public
Yes.
hear that, and that's why I asked it to be removed from the
Very
consent
good.
agenda, so that we weren't just out of turn, just go ahead and approve it, but rather that they do actually are looking forward and have something in mind. So thank you. Thanks, Bill.
Thank
Smart
you,
move.
Bill.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Yeah.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mcadams,
Yes.
Berbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
And our final resolution of the evening is number 13, Resolution 2020-040, authorizing a special event agreement with DeKalb Corn Fest Incorporated and approving a public entity, nonprofit, PENP, special event liquor license for the 2020 Corn Fest. I'd entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved by Alderman Fanouken, seconded by Alderman Smith. City Manager Nicholas, do you want to?
No.
Nothing on that? Okay. Any further?
Alderman Berbick, second.
Alderman Verbeek seconded it? We wouldn't want to make a mistake tonight, would we, Alderman Smith? Okay. So that was moved by Alderman Fanouken and seconded by Alderman Verbeek. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mcadams,
Yes.
Berbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody's consideration of moving through 13 considerations tonight. Alderman Fanouken.
Yeah, as we jump ahead to ordinances, I'd like to make a motion that items L1, 2, 3, and 4, which encompasses items 2020-032 to 2020-035, be handled in omnibus form.
Thank you.
Okay, there's been a motion that we move 1, 2, 3, and 4 under ordinances for first reading, since there are no ordinances for second reading, in one omnibus form. May I have a second to that motion?
Second.
It was seconded by Alderman Mcadams. City Manager Nicholas, would you like to speak to
Thank you.
this? And
Alderman Fanouken, that gets right to the point. These four ordinances are very
Right.
much related, and they are concerning the purchase of right-of-way for what will be called Afton Road, which runs from Girlier down to Kessler. Courses along the east edge of Ventus. This is something we talked about over the couple of weeks that we were going over the Ventus Annexation and Development Agreement. I've negotiated with each of the four families, farm families. As you know, just a year ago, pricing in that area was focused on the ag value. Now pricing in that area is focused on the development potential, and it has probably doubled the pricing. The $30,000 an acre that was offered is low now. There's acreage out there that's going currently for $39,500, and you're well aware that there were some that went for more than that. So we had to start somewhere. This is certainly not at the high end. It's right now, it's probably in another month or two will be toward the low end. And we feel it was a fair price. Each one of these farms is farmed, and this is cropland, and we weren't asked for compensation for loss of crop and so forth. They know the value of the road coming through here for them, and for others who are in Afton Township and go to market or move their farm equipment. This will be, it's a paved road, but it's going to have grass ditches and gravel shoulders, and it's not a deep paved road. It's going to look like Kriego Road. We recommend your approval.
so our consideration is to consider these in omnibus form, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor, would you read into the record each item, 1, 2, 3, and 4, please?
Yes, I would be happy to.
Thank you.
Number 1, Ordinance 2020-032, authorizing the purchase of real estate from the Margaret L. and James D. Gormley Trust, that's Trust 40-35660, for the development of Afton Road. Number 2, Ordinance 2020-033, authorizing the purchase of real estate from William E. Walter for the development of Afton Road. Number 3, Ordinance 2020-034, authorizing the purchase of real estate from Michael F. Walter for the development of Afton Road. And number 4, Ordinance 2020-035, authorizing the purchase of real estate from Stephen L. Bemis for the development of Afton Road. We're voting these in omnibus form together. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mcadams.
Yes.
Berbick.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Fanouken.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
7 yes.
Mayor, I'd like to move that we waive second reading on the ordinances just approved and approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Fanouken and seconded by Alderman Morris that we waive second reading on this omnibus ordinance consideration and approve. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Verbick.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Fanouken.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
McAdams.
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
7 yes.
Those ordinances combined into one omnibus form ordinance is approved on first and second reading, so it is approved. Number 5, Ordinance 2020-036, amending the fiscal year-end December 31, 2019 budget. Motion, please.
So
So,
moved.
second?
Been moved by Alderman Morris, seconded by Alderman Smith. City Manager Nicholas.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Ray for setting this up for us tonight. We're going through our audit right now, and we've identified some things we want to clean up, provided some detailed background for why each one of these needs to be changed. The TIF2 fund, when we did the budget, it did not anticipate the surplus distribution. We did it. We had to do it. It needs to be recorded for 2019. Foreign fire insurance, it's probably the only one that arguably could have been avoided, but we stayed within the budget, but we exceeded the line item for uniforms. As you know, Foreign Fire Insurance Board is for the benefit of the firefighters, and this money comes from the state. It's voted by the board. It falls within our budget, so we cooperate with the board in that respect. But it's up to them to spend it as they see fit. It's a unique fund. So that was about just a little under $12,000 there. We went ahead and refunded some of our debt, as you know, and when we did the budget, we weren't sure that was going to happen, so we need to adjust for that. Last year, about a year ago, we expanded the street maintenance program on North First Street. There's actually savings there, but there was some additional engineering, so that's one of the other costs. The airport fund, I'm happy to say, it was only underwater by $3,300. A big improvement over previous years, and we're hoping to exceed that this year in terms of a positive balance. And then there are also some additional retirements in the firefighters' pension fund that need to be included in our budget. So that's what that is. And across the whole budget, I think that's pretty sharp. I want to thank the department heads and Ray in particular for helping us get a pretty darn clean year end.
Yes, thank you, Assistant City Manager Munch, for your work on this, and Bill, your explanation and your background. Any further discussion or questions of either of those gentlemen? If not, roll call, please.
Morris.
Yes.
Fanouken.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Berbick,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Anybody care to waive second reading?
I'll move to waive second reading.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Morris, seconded by Alderman Perkins, that we waive second reading and approve this. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes.
Fennekin, Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Berbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Moving right along, number 6, ordinance 2020-037, amending the fiscal year-end December 31, 2020 budget to address the economic impact of COVID-19. I'd entertain a motion, please.
So moved?
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Mcadams, seconded by Alderman Morris. City Manager Nicholas?
Thank you, Mayor. The list will look very familiar to you. This is what we discussed in some detail at the last meeting. And rather than just say, well, trust me, we're going to do this, I thought it was important that we come back, get an ordinance to codify what the council had directed us to do. And that's what this is about. We recommend your approval.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Berbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fennekin,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Do we care to waive second reading and approve this tonight?
Move to waive second reading and approve.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Fennekin, seconded by Alderman Morris, that we waive second reading and approve this ordinance. Discussion? Roll call?
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Berbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fennekin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Number 7, that motion, the ordinance passes. Number 7, ordinance 2020-038, authorizing boundary modifications to the area known as the DeKalb County Enterprise Zone. This is for Syngenta. I'd entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderman Morris. City Manager Nicholas, please.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, we, the city of DeKalb, have been the beneficiary of some boundary modifications just in the last year. It's not often that a rural DeKalb County gets that opportunity. This is a great opportunity. Syngenta is a global agribusiness company headquartered in Europe and Switzerland. A lot of employees. They're in 90 countries. They've looked at and are looking to build on 24 acres at the northeast corner of Route 38 and Wilrett Road, which is just west of Kishwaukee College, as I say in my background. Their intent is to build just under 100,000 square foot campus, including office space, customer experience center, laboratories, greenhouses, some warehousing. It'll be a fine addition to the creative history that we have in agriculture in this county for 100 years. NIU, Kishwaukee College in particular, are very excited and anxious about this. We're just delighted to be one of the participating governmental units that are involved in voting on such things. We recommend that you approve this tonight.
Yeah, that could be really something, not only for Kish, but for the entire area of the county. It's tremendous. Any further discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
McAdams,
Yes.
Berbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fennekin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Like to move that we waive second reading and approve.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we waive second reading and approve this ordinance. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Berbick,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fennekin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mcadams,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
That ordinance is approved. That's the last business item on the agenda tonight. We move along now to reports and communications, giving our city council, our city clerk, or in this instance, our executive assistant and our city manager, an opportunity to make any reports. And we'll start with our first ward alderman, Carolyn Morris,
No report.
and our second ward alderman, Bill Fennekin.
I want to congratulate all the graduates, even though they've been unable to truly have graduation ceremony. That's both, all of DeKalb County, including NIU. And then, of course, I don't know if any of you have been on Girlier Road lately, but the Farrar project is just moving along tremendously quick. They've already begun to put up the walls on the second building, and so progress is really being made out there in a hurry. They said they were going to be quick, and they certainly are. And that's it.
Thank you, Bill. Alderman Smith, third ward.
I noticed the other day when I downtown walked that they've started work on the project at the old O'Leary's building. So they took off the awnings and started to clean it up inside. So.
El Jimador. Thank you, Alderman Smith. Alderman Perkins.
No report.
Alderman Mcadams, Fifth Ward.
I just want to say once again, thank you to Chief Petra Gallo and Assistant City Manager Ray Munch for your service through the years. Really appreciate your professionalism. Thank you very much.
Alderman Berbick, Sixth Ward.
No report.
And Alderman Favor is not with us tonight. I do have a short report as we move through this COVID situation and into Phase 3 on Friday. I think we got through the first couple of phases pretty well. Thank you to so many of our residents who stayed the course for the most part, and join all of us up here tonight in hoping that the new normal will be sooner as opposed to later. Among our many businesses that are suffering through this experience are our restaurants. Kudos to those who have been creative, have been imaginative, and have availed themselves of federal, state, and local resources. Among the many restaurants that have survived is one operated by a petite Vietnamese lady named Bee. Please join me in congratulating Bee and her small but efficient operation at Oakwood and Sycamore Road as Bee celebrates 30 years in our community this weekend. I'm told that Bee will have some special celebrations in store for us once things settle down a bit this summer. And something that I had received just this afternoon from Alex Nearad, the executive director of the Egyptian Theater, that late Saturday night, the Illinois General Assembly voted to fully allocate the $50 million pool of funds to the Arts and Culture Capital Coalition. And in this bill, the Egyptian Theater will receive an allocation of $2 million. And so that's good news for them. That has not yet been signed by the governor, but the prognostication is that he will do that. So congratulations to the Egyptian as they work through construction and are ready for an opening this summer whenever that might be. City Clerk Lynn Fazekas is not with us tonight because of some technical problems. Executive Assistant Ruth Scott, do you have any report?
No, sir, no report.
And City Manager Bill Nicholas.
Just very quickly, tonight we honor Ray and John. I will certainly miss them both. I know we all will. Because the search for a permanent police chief has been hampered mightily by our COVID restrictions, what we were ready to launch in early March has been delayed for several months and will be for a few more weeks. We're hoping maybe the second or third week in June we'll be able to meet with candidates. Until that time and beyond that time, until we can get a permanent police chief in place, I've appointed Bob Riddell, acting police chief, who will take over at 5 o'clock on the day that John retires. And I know John joins me in applauding Bob's tremendous career to this point and his fierce determination and dedication we're very proud and very fortunate to have Bob serve in this capacity and to serve us every day. So I just want to applaud his stepping up.
Yeah, I called Bob over the weekend, and on behalf of the council, congratulated him, and thank you, Bob, for taking that assignment on. I know we look forward to working with you. Thank you very, very much.
One last
Appreciate
thing,
it.
Mayor, on June 22nd, if all works well, we'll have our first meeting in the library. The library may not be officially open at that point, but after talking to Emily Faulkner, we'll be able to gain access that night of the 22nd for the first meeting in the soonest room, and we'll probably have a department head escort you downstairs at that point.
So
I
that
look
first,
forward to it.
that first meeting in June, we will be right back here.
Yes, we will.
And then I believe it's also during that week that we're definitely going to be operational in our new City Hall building.
We will be. We will be.
On, at the corner of 2nd and Lincoln Highway. So a lot of exciting things happening here within the city. Any other report?
That's it.
Any other reports for the good of the cause? If not, it's been indicated to me that we are being asked to move into executive session, and this would be approval to hold an executive session in order to discuss personnel as provided for in 5 ILCS 120/2C1. I'd entertain a motion to recess into executive session.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved by Alderman Morris, seconded by Alderman Smith, that we recess into executive session. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Morris,
Yes.
Fennekin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mcadams,
Yes.
Berbick,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Our regular meeting is now in recess for executive session. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.